The Milky Way, a massive sphere of crystal and light where every intelligent species sent their representatives. For 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had ruled from this place. They decided which worlds could be colonized. They controlled which technologies could be shared. They determined which species were worthy of joining their civilization and which ones would be erased from existence. Today, they were judging humanity. Ambassador David Cole stood alone on a platform of black glass, suspended above an endless pit that dropped into the station's power core. The message was clear. One wrong move, and the platform would fall. Around him, rising in circles that seemed to go on forever, sat the representatives of 900 species. Some had scales. Some had wings. Some were made of living crystal or floating gas. All of them were looking at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. He was 47 years old. His hair was gray at the temples. His suit was simple and dark. And he showed no fear at all. High, Chancellor Morith of the Thesan Dominion rose from his throne at the highest point of the chamber. He was ancient, his blue skin wrinkled with age, his 4 eyes glowing with cold light. His species had founded the Council 12,000 years ago. They had watched Earth when humans were still living in caves. The human delegation has been summoned to answer for its crimes, Morith announced. His voice filled the chamber, translated instantly into every language. Unauthorized expansion into restricted space. Development of forbidden weapons. Refusal to submit to the genetic peace protocol. And most seriously, the crime of accelerated advancement. A murmur swept through the chamber. The last charge was almost never used. It meant only one thing: death. David touched his ear, activating a hidden communication device. A voice spoke directly into his mind, transmitted from Earth through technology the Council did not know existed. Ambassador, the fleet is ready. Say the word and we respond. David tapped his collar once. A signal meaning wait. Does the human wish to speak? Morith asked. His tone made it clear he expected begging, perhaps crying, certainly submission. I do, David said. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. But first, I have a question for this great assembly. In 12,000 years of galactic civilization, how many species have stood where I stand now? The silence stretched for a long moment. 63, Morith finally answered. And how many of those species still exist? None, David smiled. It was a small smile, but something about it made the nearest alien delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. Then I suggest, David said, that you listen very carefully to what I am about to say. Because humanity has no intention of becoming number 64. He reached slowly into his jacket. Immediately, thousands of weapons locked onto his position. Guards rushed forward. Shields activated around the high officials. David pulled out a small silver device, no larger than his thumb. He held it up for everyone to see. This is what my people call insurance, he explained. If my heart stops beating, if this platform falls, if any weapon fires on me or on Earth, this device sends a signal. That signal activates other devices we have placed throughout your civilization. In your warships, in your trading stations, in the power systems of your homeworlds. The chamber exploded into chaos. Species that had not agreed on anything in millennia suddenly found common ground in outrage and fear. General Voreth of the Krell Empire slammed his massive fist against his chair. His species were the Council's warriors, 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor. Impossible. We have protected against infiltration for 12,000 years. You have protected against species you understand, David replied. Species who think like you, fight like you, negotiate like you. But humanity is different. He turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. 30 years ago, your scouts found Earth. You watched us in secret. You studied us. You decided we were too dangerous to join your civilization. So you waited. You let us develop just enough technology to seem threatening, and then you brought us here. You planned to give us a choice. Accept genetic modification to make us obedient, or face destruction. How do you know this? Morith demanded. Because we captured one of your scouts 8 years ago. Because we have been reading your communications ever since. Because while you believed you were studying us, we were studying you. David held up the silver device higher. We know your weaknesses. We know the Thesan cannot survive high temperatures. We know the Krell are vulnerable to certain sound frequencies. We know every species in this chamber and how to destroy them. And we have spent the last 8 years making sure we can. The panic that followed was intense. Representatives fled their seats. Security forces rushed into the chamber. Weapons powered up across the station. David stood perfectly still on his floating platform. Humanity does not want war, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. We want only what every species here already has. The right to exist. The right to grow. The right to reach for the stars without asking permission. Give us this, and we leave in peace. Deny us, and we show the galaxy why it should have feared us from the beginning. Morith rose to his full height. You would threaten the entire galaxy? No, I am saving it. Because the alternative is a war that burns for 1,000 years and leaves nothing but ashes. Your own military analysts have run the projections. They know what humanity is capable of. They are just too afraid to tell you. David looked directly at the High Chancellor. You have 1 hour to decide. Choose wisely. The hour that followed was chaos. Delegations argued and threatened and pleaded. Military commanders ran combat simulations that returned impossible results. Intelligence agencies scrambled to verify David's claims and found, to their horror, that he had not been lying. Strange signals were detected in warship power cores, in station reactors, in the foundations of galactic infrastructure. When the vote was called, it was not close. Morith delivered the verdict. His voice was heavy with something that might have been shame. Humanity is banished from council space. You are forbidden from entering any system within 10,000 light years of the galactic core. All trade with your species is prohibited. All contact is prohibited. You are to be forgotten, as if you never existed. This is the judgment of the Galactic Council. David lowered the silver device. The voice in his ear spoke again. That is it? They are letting us go? They think they are punishing us, David replied softly. They have no idea what they have done. The human delegation departed the station in a ship the Council had provided. As they passed through the departure corridors, species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years refused to meet their eyes. Admiral Maya Torres was waiting in the ship's command center. Her dark hair was tied back, her expression sharp and focused. A holographic map of the galaxy floated before her. They gave us exactly what we wanted, she said. They gave us more, David replied. They expected us to beg. Instead, we made them afraid. And afraid people make mistakes. The map shifted, highlighting the region of space humanity had been banished to. The outer reaches. The galaxy's forgotten frontier. Unstable stars, hostile environments, worlds that the Council had declared worthless thousands of years ago. 12,000 years of galactic civilization, Maya said, and they never thought to look here. They assumed nothing could survive in the reaches. They assumed wrong. David touched a control. The map lit up with hundreds of points of light. Each one was a human colony, established in secret over the past 3 decades. While they watched Earth, we were already leaving. While they planned our destruction, we were building an empire. 150 worlds. 4 billion people. All hidden where the Council never thought to look. Maya stared at the map. And now? Now we show them what humanity can do when no one is holding us back. 3 months later, a council patrol ship detected something impossible. A signal from a star system that their records showed is empty. Captain Thisra of the Krell brought her ship closer to investigate. What she found made her blood run cold. An entire planet transformed. Cities visible from orbit. Ships launching and landing constantly. And surrounding everything, a defensive system that made the Hall of 10,000 Stars look like a toy. Before she could send a warning, every screen on her bridge lit up with a message in perfect Krell script. Welcome to New Terra. Ambassador Cole invites you to dinner. Thisra realized, in that moment, that the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Maya Torres stood on the observation deck of humanity's first true warship, the HSS Defiance, and watched something impossible happen. Below her, a brown dwarf star was coming to life. The ignition project had been humanity's greatest achievement. For decades, Council scientists had declared that reigniting a dead star was beyond any civilization's reach. Their textbooks called it fantasy. Their experts said the energy requirements were impossible. Their experts were wrong. The brown dwarf's surface rippled, convulsed, and then erupted in nuclear fire. Light flooded across 3 star systems. 7 frozen worlds suddenly became habitable. In a single moment, humanity had created more living space than the Council had developed in 1,000 years. Ignition confirmed, reported Dr. Samuel Webb, the project's lead scientist. 7 new worlds ready for colonization within 6 months. 6 months, Maya repeated. The Council would take 6 centuries. The Council would have said it was impossible and walked away. Maya nodded slowly. 1 year since their banishment, and humanity had transformed the outer reaches from a graveyard into a garden. Their population had grown to 12 billion. Their territory now included 300 worlds. And they were just getting started. Her communication console activated with an incoming message from New Terra. Ambassador David Cole appeared on the screen, his expression serious. Admiral, we have an interesting situation. A delegation from Council Space has arrived at our border. They are requesting a meeting. The same council that banished us? Not exactly. This group claims to represent species who disagree with the Council's decision. Independent traders. Minor diplomats. They say they want to talk. Maya considered this carefully. Since their banishment, humanity had focused entirely on building their own civilization. They had not attempted to contact the Council or its member species. This was the first crack in that wall. What do they want? Trade, technology, alliance. David paused. They claim the Council is fracturing, that the hardliners are losing support, that some species see us as partners rather than threats. Do you believe them? I believe they are scared enough to be honest. The ignition was visible across half the galaxy. They know what we are capable of now. Some of them want to be on our side before things go further. Maya stared out at the newborn star, its light already warming worlds that would soon host billions more humans. Set up the meeting. But not at the border. Bring them here. Let them see what their banishment created. The delegation arrived 3 weeks later. Their leader was a being named Crystalline Prime, a Velith made of living crystal whose colors shifted with her emotions. The Velith were traders by nature. Their commercial networks spanned thousands of worlds. They were also one of the few species who had voted against humanity's banishment. Ambassador Cole, Crystalline Prime said, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I know you have no reason to trust anyone from Council Space. You are right, David agreed, but I am willing to listen. Tell me why you are really here, not the official reason. The truth. Her colors flickered through a complex pattern. Among her species, such directness was considered rude. Among humans, she had learned, it was simply efficient. The truth is that the Council is dying. The Silence Protocol has not contained information about humanity. It has inflamed curiosity. Species are asking why such extreme measures are necessary if humans are truly the primitive threat the Council claims. They are asking what the Council is hiding. And what is the Council hiding? Your technology, your expansion, your survival. Crystalline Prime activated a display panel. Images appeared showing human colonies, ships, and achievements. In 1 year, you have done what would take the Council a century. You have built an economy that works without any connection to the galactic trade network. The Council expected you to die. Instead, you have become a rival power. We are not rivals, David said. We have no interest in conquering Council space. We only want to be left alone. That is the problem. The Council cannot leave you alone. Your existence threatens everything they have built. For 12,000 years, they have kept species dependent on them. They control access to technology, to trade, to the stars themselves. But you have shown that independence is possible. If other species learn this lesson, the Council's authority collapses. David absorbed this. He had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed by a Council insider changed everything. What are you proposing? A quiet alliance. Trade agreements disguised as humanitarian aid. Technology exchanges hidden within cultural programs. A gradual opening that shows the galaxy humanity can be a partner. If we can shift enough opinion, we may be able to force the Council to reconsider. And if we cannot, Crystalline Prime's colors went dark. Then war becomes inevitable. And I have seen your military projections, Ambassador. If war comes, the Council will lose. Far away, in the crystal chambers of the Hall of 10,000 Stars, High Chancellor Morith was receiving very different counsel. They are building a coalition, he said to General Vorith of the Krell. Every day, more species slip through our quarantine. Every day, the humans grow stronger. Then we tighten the quarantine, deploy more ships, execute anyone caught trading with them, and drive more species into their arms. Morith's 4 eyes glowed with frustration. The humans are not stupid. They are not conquering anyone. They are making friends. And friendship is far more dangerous than force. Then, what do you suggest? Morith. Move to a holographic display showing the galaxy. He highlighted the outer reaches, now bright with human colonies. There is one option we have not considered. The humans are concentrated. Their empire is impressive, but it occupies a single region of space. If we strike at its heart before they can spread further. You are talking about genocide, Vorith said flatly. I am talking about survival. Ours. Morith turned to face him. In 10 years, the humans will be strong enough to challenge us directly. In 20, they will surpass us. The only way to prevent this is to act now. The full Council would never approve such an action. The full Council does not need to approve. They only need to be presented with a situation that leaves them no choice. Morith's voice dropped. There are ways to start a war without appearing to start it. Ways to make the humans look like aggressors. Ways to unite the galaxy against them. Vorith was silent for a long moment. He had fought 100 wars in service to the Council. What Morith was proposing was different. It was not defense. It was annihilation. What do you need from me? He finally asked. A small fleet, a remote human colony, and a tragedy that will shock the galaxy. Haven's Rest was one of humanity's smallest colonies. A mining outpost on a frozen moon. Population, 20,000. Mostly families who had volunteered for frontier duty. The attack came without warning. 6 ships dropped out of hyperspace, their signatures masked by technology humans had never seen. They opened fire before the colony's defenses could respond. Within minutes, Haven's Rest was burning dot by the time reinforcements arrived. There was nothing left but debris. 20,000 people. Gone. The attackers had vanished, leaving behind only one piece of evidence, a fragment of hull plating bearing the unmistakable markings of a Velith trading vessel. The news reached Crystalline Prime within hours. "No," she said when shown the evidence. "This is impossible. The Velith did not do this. We have no ships of that configuration." "The evidence says otherwise," Admiral Torres replied, her face carved from ice. 20,000 of my people are dead. Someone is responsible. It is a fabrication, a false flag operation. The Council must be behind this. Then prove it. Prove it, or the alliance we are building ends today, and the war that follows will make Haven's Rest look like a gentle warning. Crystalline Prime's form trembled. Everything she had worked to build was collapsing. "I will find the truth," she promised. "Whatever it takes, just give me time. You have 72 hours. After that, humanity responds." For 69 hours, Crystalline Prime threw every resource into the investigation. She broke laws, risked her life, infiltrated Council communications. And finally, she found it. A classified transmission between Morath and Vorath, discussing the operation in explicit detail. As she prepared to transmit the evidence, her sensors detected multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace around her ship. Krell warships, their weapons charging. "Crystalline Prime of the Velith," came Vorath's voice. "You are under arrest for treason. Surrender or be destroyed." She looked at the evidence on her screen, the proof that could prevent a galactic war. She looked at the warships surrounding her. And she made her choice. "Transmitting now," she said, her voice steady despite the death sentence she was pronouncing on herself. "Humanity, forgive us, and remember who your true enemies are." The transmission went out. The warships opened fire, and across the galaxy, Admiral Maya Torres received a message that would change everything. The broadcast began at midnight Galactic Standard Time. Every communications network in the galaxy, whether controlled by the Council or independent or human, suddenly displayed the same recording. High Chancellor Morath's private chambers. His conversation with General Vorath, playing in perfect clarity. There are ways to start a war without appearing to start it. Ways to make the humans look like aggressors. Within hours, the broadcast had been viewed by trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. The Council's attempts to suppress it only drew more attention. By the end of the first day, the galaxy was in chaos. Ambassador David Cole watched the unfolding crisis from New Terra's command center. Holographic displays surrounded him, showing riots on Council worlds, diplomatic communications flooding in from every species, and military movements that suggested the galaxy was preparing for something none of them could control. "Crystalline Prime's sacrifice saved us," he said quietly. "She died to expose the truth." Admiral Maya Torres pulled up a tactical display. "The Council's authority is collapsing. Species that have been loyal for 12,000 years are demanding answers. The Krell military is fracturing. Half their commanders are refusing orders. This is our moment. Our moment for what? Revenge? Victory? We could strike now while they are divided. End the Council forever." David studied the display. Maya was right. They could win. Humanity's military had grown beyond anything the Council had expected. Their technology was now decades ahead. A decisive strike could end the old order and establish human dominance over the entire galaxy. And that, he realized, was exactly what the Council had feared. "No," he said. "No." Maya's voice carried disbelief. "They murdered 20,000 of our people. They tried to frame our allies. They have been planning our extinction since they discovered us. And if we attack now, we prove them right. We become exactly what they always said we were. Every species in the galaxy will remember that humans responded to betrayal with conquest. So what do you propose?" David moved to the main display and began pulling up data. The Council's power came from controlling knowledge and resources. They kept species dependent by limiting access to technology, by restricting trade, by hoarding information. What if we did the opposite? What if we gave everything away? The command center fell silent. Maya stared at him. You want to share our technology? With everyone? With everyone. The propulsion systems, the Council said, were impossible. The terraforming techniques that transformed the outer reaches. The medical advances that have extended human lifespans. Everything. Free. Available to any species that wants it. That is insane. We would lose our advantage. We would gain something better. Trust. David highlighted the dozens of species who had been reaching out since the broadcast. These civilizations spent 12,000 years under the Council's control. They were told they could not advance beyond what their masters permitted. We can show them another way. Not through conquest, but through example. 3 weeks later, humanity made an announcement that shook the galaxy. The Declaration of Commons was broadcast on every frequency, in every language. It offered freely and without conditions the complete technical specifications for humanity's most advanced technologies. Faster-than-light travel, clean energy production, medical treatments for diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia. All of it given away. The Council declared it a trick, a trap, a new form of manipulation. No one believed them. Within months, the first non-human ships using human propulsion technology emerged from star docks across the galaxy. Worlds that had been dependent on Council trade networks began building their own infrastructure. Civilizations that had been stagnant for centuries experienced explosions of innovation. And humanity's reputation transformed. They were no longer the terrifying unknowns who had threatened the Council with annihilation. They were the liberators, the benefactors, the species that had been banished and responded by lifting everyone else up. On Thissa, homeworld of the species that had judged humanity unworthy of existence, crowds gathered outside government centers demanding reform. The chants were simple. We want what the humans have. Not just their technology. Their freedom. Morath watched the protests from his chambers, his 4 eyes dim with exhaustion. It is over, he said to the empty room. Everything we built, gone. But it was not over. The hardliners had one final plan. Ambassador David Cole received a communication from an unexpected source. General Vorath, the same Krell commander who had helped plan the massacre at Haven's Rest, was requesting a meeting, alone, on neutral ground. It is a trap, Maya warned. Probably. But if there is any chance we can end this without more bloodshed, we have to take it. The meeting took place on an abandoned station near the border. David arrived with minimal escort. Vorath was waiting, his massive form hunched with something that looked like defeat. Ambassador, the Krell said. Thank you for coming. General. I did not expect to hear from you. Vorath's shoulders slumped. I believed eliminating your species was necessary. I believed you were a threat that had to be destroyed. I was wrong. What changed your mind? The Declaration. When you released your technology, I expected you to weaponize it. I expected you to create dependencies, to build a new empire with yourself at the center. Instead, you gave it away freely. Species that could never repay, you received the same gifts as everyone else. Vorath paused. In 300 years of service, I have never seen such an act. David waited. I cannot undo what happened at Haven's Rest. That guilt will follow me forever. But I can prevent more deaths. I have come to offer information. Vorath's voice dropped. The hardliners are not defeated. They are planning a final strike designed to destroy humanity once and for all. They have been building a weapon in secret. They intend to launch within 6 months. What kind of weapon? A stellar ignition device. It can trigger a premature supernova in any star. Vorith met David's eyes. Their target is Sol, Earth's sun. One shot, and your homeworld is gone. David felt the blood drain from his face. They believe that without Earth, your people will lose hope. Lose unity. They cannot understand what humanity has become. Where is this weapon being built? The void of Koresh, a region of space between three black holes. They chose it because it is nearly impossible to navigate. Any assault force would be destroyed before reaching the target. Back on New Terra, the War Council convened in emergency session. Maya presented the intelligence to humanity's military leaders. The weapon is real. It is being assembled in the most dangerous region of known space. Even our most advanced ships would have less than 30% chance of surviving the approach. Options? David asked. We could wait. Let them come to us. Defend Earth directly. Against a weapon that can destroy stars? We could evacuate Earth. Move the population to the outer reaches. 8 billion people? We would need years. And the moment they detect the evacuation, they accelerate their timeline. The room fell silent. Every option seemed impossible. Finally, David spoke. We do not defend. We do not evacuate. We attack. With 30% survival odds? With whatever odds we have. The alternative is waiting for them to kill us. He stood. Humanity did not survive ice ages and plagues by playing it safe. We survived by taking impossible chances. This is our moment. We either fight and maybe die, or we surrender and definitely die. The call went out across human space. Volunteers needed for a mission with minimal survival chances and maximum importance. The response was overwhelming. Ships arrived from every colony. Scientists and soldiers, traders and farmers, veterans and new recruits. All united by a single purpose. Among them was a young pilot named Rosa Delgado, great-granddaughter of the scientist who had cracked the secret of alien propulsion 3 decades ago. She had grown up hearing stories of humanity's rise. Now it was her turn. You know you might not come back, her commanding officer told her. I know, Rosa replied. But if we do not go, there will be nothing to come back to. The fleet that assembled at the edge of the void was the largest humanity had ever fielded. 4,000 ships. They faced a journey through gravitational chaos that would have been suicide for any council vessel. But they were not council vessels. They were human. Admiral Maya Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance and addressed her fleet. In a few hours, we enter the void. Many of us will not survive. But know this, what we do today, we do for everyone. Not just humanity. Every species that has ever dreamed of freedom. We fight for them all. She paused. A beam of stellar fire lanced through space, a river of destruction that turned darkness into blinding light. Its target was the Crucible, humanity's artificial sun, the heart of their empire in the outer reaches. Rosa Delgado watched from her fighter's cockpit as the weapon discharged. Her instruments screamed warnings she could barely process. Around her, the human fleet was already moving. But they were too far away to stop what was happening. Rosa had never believed in too far. All fighters. Follow me, she broadcast, pushing her craft into a dive toward the beam's path. We cannot stop it, but we can redirect it. Redirect it? The energy output alone would destroy any ship. We are not getting close. We are using our gravitic drives to create a lens effect. Bend the beam just enough to miss the Crucible. That would require perfect coordination from at least 50 ships. Then we better be perfect. 61 fighters answered her call. They arranged themselves in precise formation, their drives combining to create a point of spatial distortion, directly in the beam's path. The energy hit them like a tidal wave. 3 ships vaporized instantly. 7 more spun away with their systems destroyed. But the formation held, and the beam bent. Just slightly. Just enough. On the Defiance, Admiral Maya Torres watched the weapon's fire arc past the crucible, missing by less than 1,000 kilometers before dissipating into empty space. Target missed, her tactical officer reported, Voy. Sea filled with disbelief. The crucible is intact. Maya allowed herself one moment of relief. Then she returned to the battle. All ships weapons free? Take that facility apart. What followed was the largest naval engagement in galactic history. 3,000 surviving human ships against 12,000 Council defenders. The numbers favored the Council, but numbers had never told the full story of human warfare. The Defiance led the charge, its advanced shielding absorbing fire that would have destroyed any Council vessel. Behind it came waves of cruisers and destroyers, their weapons carrying the power of small suns. But the Council did not rely solely on conventional weapons. Hidden among their fleet were living ships crewed by the Kirathi, a species of sentient parasites who could interface directly with their vessels. They reacted faster than any humanoid crew could manage. General Vorath, who had stayed with the human fleet as a tactical advisor, recognized the threat. The Kirathi command ships are coordinating their entire defense. Take them out, and the rest will fall into chaos. Targeting now. Maya highlighted 7 vessels on her display. Strike teams, break formation. Priority targets marked. 20 ships peeled away from the main fleet, racing toward the command vessels, while the rest provided cover. It was a desperate gamble. Breaking formation exposed their flanks to enemy fire, but the gamble paid off. The first Kirathi vessel fell within minutes. The second and third followed. As each command ship died, a section of the Council fleet faltered, their coordination fragmenting by the time the fourth was destroyed. The battle's momentum had shifted. While the fleets clashed, a smaller engagement was taking place inside the construction facility itself. Ambassador David Cole had led a boarding party through a breach in the station's hull. His team of 30 had been reduced to 12 by the time they reached the weapons control center. What they found there stopped them cold. High, Chancellor Morth stood before the weapons interface. His ancient body connected directly to the system. Around him, the bodies of his own guards lay scattered. He had killed them when they tried to stop him. Ambassador Cole, Morth said without turning. I knew you would come personally. Your species has a need to be present at important moments. It is one of your many predictable weaknesses. It is over, Morth. Your fleet is falling. Your weapon failed. Surrender and face judgment. Judgment? Morth laughed, a sound that echoed strangely through the chamber. I have seen your kind of judgment. You would put me before some tribunal, ask questions, perhaps even show mercy. No, I did not spend my entire life building this civilization to watch it fall to creatures who crawled out of the mud a moment ago. His form pulsed with energy. The targeting array can be overridden manually. I may not be able to destroy your crucible, but I can still destroy you. This station contains enough antimatter to vaporize everything within 100,000 kilometers. I am going to trigger it. Your precious ambassador dies, your fleet dies, and the galaxy remembers that humans failed. David holstered his weapon. His team looked at him in alarm, but he waved them back. You will not do it, he said. You think I fear death? I have lived for 4,000 years. I know you are prepared to die. That is not why you will not do it. David stepped closer. You will not do it because you have already lost. Not the battle. Something more important. The narrative. What are you talking about? Everything you did was recorded. The attack on Haven's Rest, the construction of this weapon, this entire battle. Right now, that recording is being broadcast across the galaxy. Every species is watching. They are seeing what the Council really is. Not protectors. Not guardians. Tyrants who would murder billions rather than share power. David gestured to the walls. If you trigger this station's destruction, you confirm everything we have said. You become the villain of galactic history forever. But if you stand down, if you face judgment, you become something else. A cautionary tale. A reminder of what happens when fear controls our choices. You give your people a chance to rebuild. Morith stared at him, his 4 eyes cycling through emotions too complex to name. You would offer me redemption? After everything I have done? I am offering you a choice. That is all anyone can offer. For a long moment, the only sound was the distant thunder of BattleDot. Then Morith withdrew his connection from the weapon. I accept your judgment, he said quietly. May the galaxy forgive me, because I cannot forgive myself. The battle ended 3 hours later. The Council fleet, its command structure shattered and its morale broken, surrendered. The construction facility was secured. The weapon was permanently disabled. The casualties were staggering. Over 800 human ships destroyed. Tens of thousands dead. Among them, Rosa Delgado, whose fighter had been caught in a counterattack during the final stages. She had died saving her wingmates, pulling enemy fire onto herself so they could complete their mission. Admiral Maya Torres presided over the memorial service aboard the Defiance. They came here knowing they might not return. They came anyway, because they understood something the Council never did. That freedom is not given. It is earned. Through sacrifice, through courage, through the willingness to risk everything for people you will never meet. She paused. They were the best of us. Across human space, similar services were being held. But even as they mourned, a new reality was taking shape. The Galactic Council, in its old form, was finished. The broadcast of Morith's crimes had shattered any remaining faith in its authority. Species that had been loyal for millennia were demanding reforms. Others were simply leaving, establishing their own governments based on the model humanity had shown them. Messages. Flooded New Terra. The Velith Trade Federation formally withdrew from the Council and petitioned for alliance with humanity. The aquatic Marathi followed. Then the plant-based Thornton. Then dozens more. We did not conquer anyone, David observed during a council meeting on New Terra. We did not impose our will. We just showed them another way. They chose us, Maya said. The question is what we do with that responsibility. We keep our promises. We share our knowledge. We build something better than what came before. 6 months after the battle, humanity's exploration vessels pushed deeper into uncharted space than anyone had ever ventured. They were mapping new territories, seeking resources, establishing foundations for the next phase of expansion. One such vessel, the HSS Pioneer, was conducting surveys near the galactic rim when its sensors detected something impossible. A structure, clearly artificial, orbiting a star that predated the galaxy itself. Captain Nadia Okafor ordered her ship closer. Her crew watched in stunned silence as the structure resolved on their screens. It was massive, larger than any station, larger than most moons. Its architecture was unlike anything in human or council records, and it was active. Captain, her science officer reported, voice trembling. I am detecting life signs. Thousands of them. Possibly millions. And they are waking up. Hatches began opening across the structure's surface. Ships emerged, ancient vessels of unknown design, their hulls shimmering with technology that made humanity's most advanced systems look primitive. And then a transmission, in a language no species had heard for billions of years, but which the ship's translator somehow understood. We are the architects. We seeded this galaxy with life when it was young. We have been waiting for someone worthy to find us. Humanity... You have passed the test. Now the real work begins. Captain Okafor stared at the screen, realizing that everything humanity had achieved was only the beginning. The real story was about to start. The discovery of the architects changed everything humanity thought. They knew about the universe. They were ancient beyond comprehension. A species that had achieved technological transcendence before the Milky Way had fully formed. They had seeded life across the galaxy, then withdrawn to the rim to wait, to watch, to test. And humanity, alone among all the civilizations that had risen and fallen over billions of years, had proven worthy. Ambassador David Cole stood in a chamber aboard the architect's station, surrounded by beings that appeared as shifting patterns of light and energy. They had no fixed physical form. Their bodies had been abandoned millions of years ago, their consciousness existing in ways humans had no words to describe. The entity he addressed called itself the Voice. It spoke for the architects. Worthy of what? David asked. Worthy of inheritance, the Voice replied. For billions of years, we watched this galaxy's children stumble toward enlightenment. They built empires and destroyed them. They achieved greatness and fell to petty conflicts. They reached for the stars and retreated in fear. Images flowed through the chamber, the rise and fall of civilizations that predated even the Council, species that had achieved remarkable things before destroying themselves. The Galactic Council was merely the latest failure, the Voice continued. They found fragments of our technology scattered across the galaxy and used it to seize power. But they never understood it. They hoarded knowledge instead of sharing it. They chose control over cooperation. The Hall of 10,000 Stars was the largest structure ever built by any civilization in the galaxy. It floated at the exact center of, and we are different? You are unprecedented. More images appeared. Humanity's history, from the first fire to the stars. No species has ever achieved what you achieved in so short a time. No species has ever been banished and responded with generosity. You have something the others lacked. What? Hope. You believe that tomorrow can be better than today. That belief is rarer than you know. It is also more powerful than any weapon. It is why we chose you. The architects made humanity an offer that defied understanding. Their technology, accumulated over billions of years. Their knowledge of the universe's deepest secrets. Their ability to reshape matter, to bend space and time, to transcend the limitations of physical existence. All of it freely given. But there is a responsibility that comes with this power, the Voice warned. The galaxy is at a crossroads. The Council's fall has created a vacuum. Other forces are stirring. Predators from beyond the rim. Ancient evils we can find long ago. Threats that dwarf anything you have yet faced. If you accept our inheritance, you must use it to protect all life in this galaxy, not just your own. David brought the offer back to New Terra. The debate lasted for weeks. Some argued for caution. If we become transcendently powerful, they will fear us all over again. Admiral Maya Torres pointed out. Others argued for acceptance. We cannot refuse. The architects would not warn us about galactic threats if those threats were not real. In the end, David made the deciding argument. When the Council banished us, we had a choice. Become what they feared, or become something better. We chose better. We shared our technology. We built alliances. We proved that power does not have to corrupt. He looked around the chamber. Now we face the same choice on a larger scale. We can use these abilities to dominate, or we can use them to protect. We can become the new Council, or we can become something the galaxy has never seen. Guardians who serve all life. The vote was unanimous. The process of integrating the architect's technology took decades. Teams of human scientists worked alongside the ancient beings to understand systems that operated on principles physics could not explain. Some breakthroughs came quickly. Others required entirely new ways of thinking. General Vorath, now an elder statesman among the Krell, watched humanity's transformation with complex emotions. "You are becoming something we cannot follow," he told David during one of their meetings. "Eventually, you will look at us the way you once looked at insects." "No, we will not. Because we remember what it was like to be the insects. We remember how it felt when the Council looked down on us. We will never do that to anyone else." And they kept that promise. As humanity's capabilities grew, they spread that growth outward. Medical technologies that could cure any disease. Energy systems that provided unlimited clean power. Transportation networks that made the vastness of space navigable. The former Council species, initially wary, gradually embraced the new reality. The Thesan, once humanity's judges, became partners in exploration. The Velith turned their trading networks into distribution systems for new technologies. Even the Krell found new purpose as peacekeepers. 20 years after humanity accepted the architect's inheritance, the threat the ancient beings had warned about finally arrived. They came from beyond the galactic rim, from the void between galaxies. The Devourers. They were not a species so much as a force. A wave of entropy that fed on organized matter, converting everything it touched into more of itself. The architects had fought them once, billions of years ago, and barely survived. "They are the ultimate predator," the voice explained. "They do not want resources or territory. They want existence itself. They will not stop until every star is dark and every atom is part of their collective." The Devourer's approach was detected months before their arrival. Every species in the galaxy had time to prepare. And for the first time in history, they prepared together. Admiral Maya Torres, her aging halted by architect technology, commanded the combined defense fleet. It included ships from every species that had ever been part of the Council, plus dozens more that had emerged since. "This is what we have been building toward," she told her fleet. All the conflicts, all the suffering, all the growth. It was all leading to this moment. We are not just fighting for humanity. We are fighting for everyone who ever lived and everyone who will ever live. The battle that followed stretched across thousands of light years and lasted for months. The Devourers were unlike any enemy the galaxy had faced. Endlessly adaptable, driven by hunger that knew no bounds. But the galaxy's defenders had something the Devourers lacked. Each other dot when the Thyssen fleet faltered, Krell warships covered their retreat. When human technology proved ineffective against new adaptations, Velith engineers developed countermeasures within hours. When sectors were overwhelmed, species that had been enemies for millennia fought side by side. The final battle took place in the heart of the Devourer invasion, where their oldest concentration had gathered for a decisive strike. David Cole, now elderly but still clear-eyed, commanded the operation. He had lived long enough to see humanity transform from outcasts to guardians. He intended to see this through. All units, coordinate for final assault. Let us end this. The combined fleet struck as one. Weapons developed by humanity, enhanced with architect technology, modified by contributions from every allied species, tore into the Devourers. The entropy creatures fought back with terrible ferocity. But for every vessel lost, dozens more pressed the attack dot in the end. It was a young pilot named Elena Delgado, Rosa's granddaughter, who delivered the killing blow. Her ship carried a device that could only be described as concentrated creation. She plunged into the Devourer's heart and triggered the detonation. Where the Devourers had been, there was now a nebula of newborn stars. Their light carried the message that entropy was not the universe's final word. David Cole died 3 years after the victory, surrounded by family and friends from a dozen species. His last words were simple. We did it. Not just humanity. Everyone. Remember that. They remembered Dot in the centuries that followed. The galaxy entered a new era. No empires or councils. No rulers or subjects. Species cooperated freely, each contributing what they could. Humanity, as inheritors of the architect's legacy, served as guardians rather than governors. The station where the architects had waited for billions of years became a place of pilgrimage. Beings from across the galaxy came to learn the history of their universe and the species that had almost destroyed it and then saved it, carved into the entrance. In every language ever spoken was a single message. We were banished because they feared what we might become. We became something greater than fear. We became hope. The guide who led tours through the memorial was ancient, one of the architects who had chosen to remain. They ask me sometimes why humanity succeeded where so many failed, the guide would say. The answer is simple. They never stopped believing they could be better. They never stopped reaching for what seemed impossible. The visitors would leave, carrying that message back to their own worlds. And the galaxy, once ruled by fear, continued to grow in hope. The species that had been banished to die in the darkness had instead become the light that saved everyone. That was humanity's true inheritance. Not technology or power, but the simple truth that compassion and courage could change the universe. And they had.